loved me and gave himself for me. That's what Paul is saying. You know, I live by the faith of the Son of God who loved me and gave himself for me. So when you are actually allowing Christ to live in you, the life that comes out is the life of Christ. That's it. The things that you do, the actions that show is Christ, because Christ is in you. That's what Paul said. Now, so why our character is very important to develop? Why? Because in 1 Timothy 6 and 7, but godliness with contentment is great gain. For we brought nothing into this world, and it is certain that we can carry nothing. So here in this world, we cannot carry our money, we cannot carry our house, our clothes, even our body, we cannot carry them. It says here we can carry nothing. The only thing that we can carry is our character. It says here, a character formed according to the divine likeness is the only treasure that we can take from this world to the next. Those who are under the instruction of Christ in this world will take every divine attainment with them to the heavenly mansions. And in heaven, we are continually to improve. How important then is the development of character in this life? So it's important that we need to develop the character, because this is the only treasure that we can take to heaven. Now, how do we form a good character? What do we do first? Okay, now it says here in Upward Look 89, never forget that thoughts work out actions. Repeated actions form habits, and habits form character. So it should start from your actions. So if you form good actions, repeated good actions will become habits. And then habits will become a character. And that character will determine your destiny. So it says here, thus actions repeated form habits, habits form character, and by the character, our destiny for time and for eternity is decided. So we need to start with good actions. What are those good actions? You follow the rules. You follow the, if you're driving, then you follow the speed limit. Make it a habit. If you're eating your meal, make it a habit that you need to pray first. When you go to bed, you pray. Make it a habit. Those are good actions. You eat 3 meals a day, then make it a habit. Do not eat 4 times if you make it a habit 3 meals a day or 2 meals a day. Some people are doing 2 meals. We do 2 meals here. So, but make it a habit. Good actions form good habits. And then good habits becomes your good character. And that character will determine your destiny, whether you make it to heaven or not, right? Now, of course, when you have good character, then you will be taken to heaven. Now, who is our example in developing our character? Now, our example is not our neighbor. Our example is not the minister. Our example is Christ. He is our example. We need to look at Christ. How did Christ, when he was here on this earth, how did he overcome? It says here, in our character building, Christ is our example. He placed himself at the head of the human race to show us how to live in a way that God can approve. He is the only one who has lived a perfect life, who has formed a pure, spotless character. He has shown us what it means to be a perfect human being. He has shown us what God is and what we are to become. God-like in character. So Christ, he was spotless. He lived a perfect life. A God-like in character. Now, what is a God-like character? What was the life of Christ when he was here on earth? It says here, what Christ was on this earth, the Christian workers should strive to be. So what Christ was before, we need to follow that life. He is our example, not only in his spotless purity, but in his patience. So in other words, we need to be patient. We need to be patient, gentle. We need to be gentle. Winsomeness, that means charm. People will like you because you look good. People will come to you because, the way you look. There are some people who are scared to come to the person because of the look. Make sure that your look is charming. People will come to you. That was Christ, actually. He was charm of disposition. His life is an illustration of true courtesy. He had ever a kind look. That means Christ had a good look. He was not looking as, his eyes were so sharp. No, he has a tender look. People will come to him. A word of comfort for the needy and the oppressed. So we need to have these things in our lives so that our character will be reshaped again. So Christ is our example. Here in 1 Peter 2:21-23, regarding Christ, for even hereunto were ye called, because Christ also suffered for us, leaving us an example that ye should follow his steps. So Christ has given us an example that we will follow his steps, who did no sin. In other words, he did not sin. He was victorious over sin. Neither was guile found in his mouth. So in other words, Christ was very careful in his language. He was careful in his mouth. There was no guile found in his mouth. Who, when he was reviled not again. In other words, Christ did not fight back. When he was being beaten, he was being spit, he did not fight back. When he suffered, he threatened not, but committed himself to him that judgeth righteously. That is Christ. And I know it's hard to do that. But Christ promised, as many as receive him, to them give he power to become sons of God. Christ will give us the power. What is the power? Where is the power coming from? Is only from the word. We just have to look at the word. We have to look at the promises of God. Remember 2 Peter chapter 1. The book of Peter right there. 2 Peter chapter 1. Regarding the promises of God. By these promises, we become partakers of the divine nature of God. Through the promises of God, we become partakers of his divine nature. Through the words, the promises in the Bible, we become partakers of his divine nature. So in his childhood, what was Christ like in his childhood? It says here, as a child, Jesus manifested a peculiar loveliness of disposition. His willing hands were ever ready to serve others. He manifested a patience that nothing could disturb. Oh, wow. He manifested a patience that nothing could disturb, and a truthfulness that would never sacrifice integrity. In principle, firm as a rock. His life revealed the grace of unselfish courtesy. So Christ is balanced. He has a balanced self because he stood firm as a rock. In other words, when he stands, he is firm. In his decision, he is firm as a rock. And that's why Christ is our example that we should follow. And it says here, his life on this earth, Desire of Ages 72, it said the parents of Jesus were poor and depended upon their daily toil. He was familiar with poverty, self-denial, and privation. So Christ was actually, he's used to privation. That means self-denial, sacrifice. This experience was a safeguard to him. Sometimes we don't want inconvenience, right? We want some easy life. We want some convenience, air condition, right? We want some, without the air condition, we cannot survive. No, but Christ, he was used to privation, self-denial. That was, he can take, whether it's hot or cold, he can take it. So, and it says here, this was a safeguard to him. In his industrious life, there were no idle moments to invite temptations. So he was always busy. No aimless hours opened the way for corrupting associations. So far as possible, he closed the door to the tempter. Neither gain nor pleasure, applause nor censure could induce him to consent to a wrong act. He was wise to discern evil and strong to resist it. So Christ was always busy. He was industrious. So there were no moments to invite temptations. Nothing, because he was always busy. You know, when you are busy, there's no time for gossiping, right? No time for that. You know, when you're busy in the garden, there was no time of talking, you know. You concentrate in your work. And that was Christ. Christ was always busy. He was very industrious. There was no idle moments for him, you know. It says here in Desire of Ages 72, paragraph 2, Christ was the only sinless one who ever dwelt on the earth. Yet for nearly 30 years, he lived among the wicked inhabitants of Nazareth. This fact is a rebuke to those who think themselves dependent upon place, fortune, or prosperity. Now, sometimes people say, you know, I get tempted because, you know, of the situation I have. You know, I'm working, you know, and I'm busy in the work, so I get tempted. No, I mean, that's not the valid reason. You know, you could still overcome wherever you are. If you want to overcome, you can be victorious wherever you are. Why? Because Christ, if you allow Christ to live in you, then the light that comes out is Christ. That's the only way. So in order to live a blameless life, temptation, poverty, adversity is the very discipline needed to develop purity and firmness. So, you know, self-denial. This is one of the things that will really help us to endure to the end. Because if we are not used to hardships, if we are not used to privation, we just want an easy life. No, there is no such thing, because during the time of trouble, God's people will encounter this. And if you are not used to that, how are you going to survive? So we need to learn privation. You know, that's why he puts us in the country so that we can practice self-denial, right? Christ was also a singer. Oh, he was a singer. Often he expressed the gladness of his heart by singing psalms and heavenly songs. Often the dwellers of Nazareth heard his voice raised in praise and thanksgiving. He held communion with heaven in song. And as his companions complained of weariness from labor, they were cheered by the sweet melody from his lips. So Christ sings. He sings. We need to learn how to sing as well. You know, by singing, we can actually comfort people. We can comfort those who are sick by our voice. His praise seemed to banish the evil angels, and like incense filled the place with fragrance. The minds of his hearers were carried away from their earthly exile to the heavenly home. You know, there were times that Christ was being tried. People trying to cause him to be impatient. But what did Christ do? It says here, while Christ was working at the carpenter's bench, others would sometimes surround him, trying to cause him to be impatient. But he would begin singing some of the beautiful psalms. And before they realized what they were doing, they had joined with him in singing, influenced as it were by the power of the Holy Spirit, which was there. So they were being influenced by the Holy Spirit. So if somebody tries to tempt you, sing is the solution. If your wife is angry, maybe you can sing songs in front of her. It may not be good, you know. Maybe it's it doesn't look like. I don't think it's a good way to sing in front of an angry person. But maybe you keep quiet if you want. But singing, it says here, if someone is not feeling well, when you're singing, the song will actually comfort those people. So Christ, he would begin to sing, and then those people actually were being influenced by the Holy Spirit, and they will begin to sing. In Matthew 5:11 and 12, blessed are ye when men shall revile you and persecute you, and shall say all manner of evil against you falsely for my name's sake.